people. How are you? Oh, let me pull you a little bit closer so that we can get chatting a little bit more easily. Oh, the sun is out, and I've tried to put something up to block it hitting me too much, but we have to bear with it. It'll be gone in about 5 or 10 minutes, hopefully, and then you won't be blinded. I won't be blinded. You won't be quite so blinded. All this area over there that's blown out. Hey, everybody, I can see you hopping on. Give me a hello in the chat. Tell me how you are. Are you wearing any knitwear today? I'd love to hear about it. I'm wearing my little Hebe jumper. It just feels like a Hebe jumper kind of a day. It's really sunny. It's crisp. It's not freezing. It's sort of crisp here. I've just had some porridge, so I'm quite hot inside. But it's a nice weight. The sport weight yarn is a lovely weight. This is some of the Truly Metal yarn, and it's a really easy weight to wear. It feels really good. Hey, Maureen, lovely to see you. Oh, you'll be having similar sunshine to me. Oh, hi, Sabrina. How are you? It's a sunny day in West Melton today as well, and you're wearing your first Maudie today, which tells me you have more than one Maudie like I do. It's a good cardie. I wore mine. I wore mine the other day. I now have a lot of knitwear to circulate through. So I do have favorites. I do have things I kind of reach for, and then I have to remember other bits and pieces in there. You're wearing your Florrie today in chilly Sydney. Oh, Beck, that'd be lovely. And Florrie is actually one that I don't wear a lot. I need to pull that one out a little bit more, but I actually have this urge to knit Florrie in Bohemia Light. I think that will be a match made in heaven. So maybe I should just do that sometime and actually just knit it for you. I'm running out of knitting time though. Hey everybody. Oh, Lynn, it's a beautiful day today. Isn't it a beautiful day? The sky is blue and the sun is shining. It's really lovely. Maureen's trying to get her double time finished. And hi Bianca, nice to see you. Oh, Rangiora, it's sunny all the way down to the bottom of New Zealand, says Tamsin. Fantastic. And Rangiora, and she's wearing Maud. Oh, brilliant. So I wore Maud the other day. It's one that we got in Wardrobe Toolbox. It's with pockets. I wore it yesterday. I think it was yesterday I wore that one, actually. Hey, Rebecca, it's cold and it's going to be very wet later in Melbourne today. You're nearly finished your floozy 2 for your husband. Oh, fantastic. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that, Rebecca. Hey, from Melbourne, eating porridge while you listen. Yeah, I'm warm to my bones now because I just had a bowl of porridge. It just felt like a porridge morning. Oh, you made it in Sockmatition and it's absolutely delicious. Actually, Beck, that's a really good idea. I have some Sockmatition here. I'm not sure if I have what's down there. I'm not sure if I have a DK or a fingering though. I should check. But actually, you're right. Sockmatition would be a lovely choice for Florrie. You can get Sockmatition at skeins.com. And it's Nathan Taylor's yarn that he did with them several years ago, but it's just lovely. I love that one. It's got a nice halo. It's got a dark, it's got a bit of yak or possum or something through it, doesn't it? Is it possum? I can't remember, but it's got a bit of a dark halo. I'm trying to get my double time started. I have 7 other things to do first. We could take a guess who that might be. I'm not sure, but it could be one of several people. Barbara says, sneaky peek from work. I wish I was at home knitting. Oh, Barbara, and now I've finally given you something to knit. You can get home and knit it. Oh, Brent, fantastic. Bex is going to do the new test in Sockmatition. Excellent. And we're going to talk a lot. This is a Wardrobe Toolbox pattern that's coming out. And I got this really, my stitches were tiny and I've got an unusual row gauge. So we'll have a lot of opportunity to talk about row gauge because not everybody is getting, Delene, yes, one of a few that would have that comment before. The row gauge, some yarns won't get it. Other yarns will get it very close to it. So it's going to be an interesting one to talk about. Hey, Angela, it's freezing but sunny in Canberra. Fantastic. That sounds really nice. I love that sort of weather. It's my favorite. Hey, Claire, gorgeous day in Kimbolton. Yay. Well, look, sounds like New Zealand and at least some of Australia are covered in a bit of sunshine. I haven't seen anyone. Has anyone tuned in from the other side of the world today? Not yet. Maybe they will, and they'll tell us what's happening over there as spring hits. Maybe everybody's out in the garden as they ease into summer. I'm curious to know how your how your summer knits are going. I do enjoy a summer knit. It's something to wear in the summer and something to knit in the summer. I enjoy both. All right, let me have a sip of my tea. I wanted to talk to you today. We were going to just do a little bit more chatting about double time because we've got our knit along is in full swing, and here's Yvonne is just saying that she's onto her bands on double time, and then you're going to do the sleeves. It's actually one of the things I was going to talk to you about today. So, I've got my 2 double times, which I have been wearing a lot. This is when I get a little favorite and I keep reaching for them over and over. And we're all knitting together our double times, and we've talked a lot. We've talked about kind of what's happening up in the yoke area at the top already. We've talked about that quite a lot up here. And now we're moving down. And for those, because it's knitted from the top down, for those of us who are moving down, I thought it would be nice to talk a little bit about what happens once you reach the bottom of the yoke. So I have this way of knitting things. I don't always do it, but I'd say 90% of the time I do it. I split my body and my arms. So I put my sleeves onto holders, and then I knit my sleeves. I put my sleeves onto holders, and then I go back to my body, and I knit about 2 inches of my body, about that much. And then I pick up my sleeves and I do my sleeves at that point. And then I come back and I finish the body. And I like doing it like that for a couple of reasons. Tell me, I'd love to hear what you do. I'd like to do that for a couple of reasons. One, because I get a good sense of whether it's going to fit me. Once I have the sleeves in, picked up, what I tend to do is I knit both sleeves. I usually have a couple of inches under the arm where we have no shaping. So I'll pick them up and knit to there. And you could do that on both sides if you wanted, and then try everything on. And then you have this very short cardigan. It only comes up to here. But you do get a better sense of, is it working? And you haven't gone so far that that you have a lot to rip back if it's not working. It's always really good to try things on as you're going. So here on this one, I just go down a little bit. I put this on a holder, and then I go back and pick up my sleeves. I knit them a little bit, try it on, all good to go. And then I keep going, and then I'll do my sleeves first, and then I'll come back to my body. Now, one of the things I write in my patterns is, you can put your, what do I say? Put your stitches onto scrap yarn or waste yarn or onto a holder, things like that. There's quite a few ways of holding your stitches while you're waiting for the next bit to happen. These days, what I tend to do is I put them onto cables. And so I just leave as I'm separating my body and my sleeve. So you knit along the front. Actually, you start here, you knit on the right side and you knit along. And then you put your sleeve stitches onto a cable. So you could just use, if you don't have lots of cables, you could just use some waste yarn. Just use something that's quite smooth so that everything doesn't start felting together and sticking. You want some yarn that's smooth right through it. A cotton would be great. And you pop your stitches onto a waste yarn. I do like using a cable because it just means when I come back to knit it, I can literally just screw some needles in the end, and off I go. And to stop things falling out, you can either, if you're using a cable, to stop everything falling off, you can either secure them at either end with little twisty things, if you've got those, or if they have little holes in them, your cables, you can just get some of those tiny safety pins and just put a tiny safety pin through. Or you could just leave it on needles. In fact, I was knitting one just recently. It was on the needle on one side, and I had a long cable, still had needles attached, and I tied it into a knot and pulled it tight. And it just sort of stayed there on that side. Obviously, you have to undo it to try it on. So be creative about what you're doing when you get to the sleeves and you're putting things on onto holders. I also have this fabulous little pink stretchy. It's over there. If I had an assistant, they could just pass me my bag from over there. But I have these little hot pink stretchy cables, which are like tubes. They're like little rubbery tubes. And sometimes I stick those onto either end of my needle, and that just makes sure nothing falls off. But those are fantastic when you want to try things on. So you just put them onto the end of your, like if the body, say, is on a cable, but it's not overly long, you can stick the tube onto one end of your needle, and then you just slip your stitches onto it carefully, because I have had it fall off. You have to put it on quite firmly. And you slip your stitches onto it, and then you can try stuff on. Silicone cables. That's right. You find the stitches, grip to them, Barbara says. They can. I think it depends on the yarn you're using and how tightly you've knitted in comparison to the cable, to the silicone cable. So nice big DK stitches are going to slide over beautifully. Fingering stitches, you're going to have to move them carefully. Once they're on, you can generally get a flow going, but just move them carefully over the joint. But that, though, I have found that really, really helpful when I'm trying things on. And I also, as I said, I can just bang it on either end and my stitches don't fall off. Barbara says she likes using cables with stopper ends. Yeah, so there's the postie. And there's a big parcel here waiting for the postie. So I'm hoping, here comes Mr. Metal, he'll sort it out. Yeah, so I quite like cables. Yeah, you can get the little stoppers at both ends so that stops everything falling off. And that can be really helpful. But again, you could just use little safety pins if you want. You could either put the safety pin through to hold everything, the two cables together, or you could just have one at each end and then something's falling off to stop things falling off. Let's just have a look at your comments here. Oh, it's sunny down south as well. It's sunny right to the end of this country in New Zealand today. What was the name of the jumper I wore in Fit Night? That's right. It was yesterday. We had our Fit Night in Wardrobe Toolbox. I wore Maud yesterday. And no, Maeve. Maeve. She's called Maeve, isn't she? Golly, you see, it's too many children. I forget all their names. Maeve. And so she is knitted in Kelly & Co. from Skeins. She's a yoked jumper. She's all worked inside out. So you knit her, but then you've put her in the other way to wear her with this reverse stockinette showing. And she's has a lovely yoke and she's sort of slimish fitting. And then she's got lovely long cuffs and then pockets in the front with this really pretty hem that goes around the front with cables. And you can stick your fingers and hands in the pockets, which is actually quite useful. Because I was listening to something on my phone and I put my phone in my pocket yesterday as I was moving. I had lots of things in my hand and I was like, oh, look at that. I've got a pocket. So I put my phone in my pocket and it fitted perfectly. So that was Maeve. And she's a Wardrobe Toolbox pattern. It's really fun, our Fit Night. We get together and we can talk about specific issues that we have about patterns or specific fit issues. It's a nice opportunity to jump on and show us what you're working on and just getting some specific questions answered. It's really good. Maureen said, I'm hoping to get some knitting accessories on Saturday. I've always had issues with putting things on waste wool. That's a good idea. I think it's actually a nice idea to go and specifically stock up on knitting accessories and really filling out your pouch, because I think, I have a lovely knitting pouch that I just pull around with me. And every now and then I have to just look at it, go through it and say, how many stitch markers have I actually lost in the course of this year? Or where have my scissors gone? Or who's nicked this, And so it's quite nice to go through. Like just recently, I discovered I had no tape measures. I don't know where all the tape measures had gone. Vanished. I had this really cute pull-out tape measure. Gone. I had gone. Just gone. So I don't know where they all are. The tape measures have vanished. So I actually have to go and I have found a couple now. But I think, right, I have to go and restock my pouch with things that when I need them, I really need them fast because they make such a difference just to making our whole knitting experience smoother. I'll talk to you about what's in my pouch another day. I've done that before and it evolves. My pouch evolves with me. But I love that idea, Maureen, that you can go somewhere and you say, right, I'm not going to get sucked in by all the yarn for half an hour. I'm just going to focus on getting some knitting accessories that I want. Yeah, if you don't want to use waste wool or waste yarn, then it's a good idea to get some specific things. Tape measures and scissors. I can never find those when I want them, says Amanda. I know. And you buy yourself, I've bought myself pretty little scissors, which I have. And I also, when my dad was in hospital years ago, Mum, they kept throwing away. She had a lot of band. He fell off the roof. It was a crazy time. Some of you will probably remember what happened. Fell off the roof, broke half his body. And so he had a lot of bandages going on. And he's all better now. But so they had all these bandages and scissors. And Mum said they were just throwing away scissors every time. They did something and throw away the scissors. And she was like, can I keep? So she kept all the scissors. So I had these little surgical scissors. They're actually really useful. So I've got those as well, lots of scissors. But the pretty scissors, honestly, people seem to think that they're theirs and they take them off me. Beck says, I moved the couch cushions and I found stitch markers, scissors, and a tape measure. Beck, that's actually probably what I need to do. And Claire says, "My lazy boy swallows my favorite stitch markers." I know, we know it, don't we? Yeah, builders pull out measure and stitch markers are knotted yarn. Delene, you sound like my daughter making her stitch markers out of paper clips and just making do with bits of string and a ruler to try and measure things. It's funny. The things we're very creative. We can be very creative people. May have been you might have been reduced to using nail clippers, said Amanda. Oh, nice. Just snipping that yarn. Jo says she put her accessories away somewhere safe, and then she just can't remember where. It's like my car keys, Jo. Yeah, so you've put them somewhere safe. I think you need a location, a pouch and a location, maybe several pouches. Have a couple of little ones. Someone said I did the same when my son was having shoulder stabilization. 2 pairs of great scissors. Yeah, they just threw away all the scissors. Anyway, getting yourself some good accessories is really helpful when you're knitting a cardigan. You're working from the top, and particularly when you get to this point here and you've divided the sleeves, they are on a holder or a waist yarn or whatever it is. Yeah, I know, Maureen, definitely do get sucked in with the wools, but half an hour just for accessories. Well, you've got your sleeves on holders. I like to go back to my body and then knit. As I say, I knit a couple of inches because that gets me to the point. And for those of you who add bust darts, it will get you to the point where you're thinking about adding a bust dart or beginning waist shaping. It's going to vary slightly between people, that measurement, but on average, it's about 2 inches from the underarm to, this is called your bust apex here, and there's about 2 inches between the underarm and the bust apex on average. So I tend to run with that, and I knit 2 inches, and then I go back to my sleeves, and I can pick up a sleeve and I can knit. I generally do about 2 inches under the arm as well with no shaping, because that's what's I have found that comfortable. So I write that into my patterns. You might go longer. You might decide that your arm doesn't change shape much up here at all. And you might decide you can knit right down a bit further before you do any shaping. But either way, knit a little bit. If you want, then you can go back to the other sleeve and do the same and then try it all on. And ask yourself, is it working? Do I like it? You might want to steam it. You could properly block it if you want at that point. If you're concerned about things and if you really want to, if you've spent a lot of money on the yarn, or it's going to take you a lot of time, or you're just feeling like, I'm not 100% about this, maybe block it properly, let it dry, try it on. And then you'll know, and you'll be able to just enjoy the rest of the process. There's a lot to be said for enjoying your knitting. So you can do that. And then I like to come back and knit my sleeves and then my body. And one of the reasons I like to do that, apart from the fit thing, is because it's not so heavy. And when I'm knitting around and around, and I have my sleeve needles that I use, I'm knitting around and around on a sleeve. You know, often things can get twisted like that. If you're using double pointed needles, they will. So every now and then you'll have to untwist everything so that it untwists. And it's not so heavy. You haven't got this big body just to lug around when you're doing the sleeve. So I find it a more comfortable knit. It's a more portable knit at that point as well, because I am just working on a sleeve. And so I like doing it that way. And then the sleeves are done and I go back to the body. And then at that point, it might be portable still, because pretty much everything's portable for me with a big enough bag. But there is a bit more weight to it, but you've got most of it sitting on your knee and you're working around a bigger circumference. It's just easier. For me, I find that a bit easier. The other thing, of course, is I just had another thought about why I do it. Just popped into my head and now it's vanished out. So I'll read your comments and I'll come back. I have knitted, Tamsin says, I've knitted the body of both Wayfarer and Ginger Snap, and so now I'm knitting 4 sleeves to finish 2 new garments for winter. And you've reminded me what my other reason was, Tamsin. Sleeve Island. I actually quite like knitting sleeves. I do quite like knitting them. I enjoy the fact that I'm knitting between decreases. They seem to grow. I really like my little sleeve needles. So I'm not I don't find, well, not anymore. I used to find Sleeve Island a bit of a problem. I find it less of a problem, but it still is a thing, Sleeve Island. And it just means, for those of you who this is a new term to, it just means, oh my gosh, I'm stuck on Sleeve Island. It's like, will these sleeves ever end? I just want this garment finished. And all I'm doing is knitting freaking sleeves. And it's that. And so I think to avoid Sleeve Island, if you bang out that body and you get it done. No, what am I saying? To avoid sleeve, the opposite. If you just bang out those sleeves and you get the sleeves done and dusted and they're right down almost as long as you want them, you can leave them on a holder. You don't have to finish them, but at least if you get to the cuffs and then maybe you put them on a holder, maybe you finish them off entirely, see what you feel like, and then you go back to the body. It's just the body and then you're over. It's the body and the bands and the neck or whatever, but you're on the home straight. You are on the home straight. And there's something psychological about that, which makes us start, well, A, looking around to see what we're going to knit next. Definitely a thing. And also just feeling like, woof, I'm off. Right. Yes, I'm so close to having this thing finished. Psychologically, it does feel it, even though you've got the entire body to knit down the sides and the hem and the bands and all of that. It definitely is a something doing the sleeves first. Someone says, I prefer sleeves over the never-ending long rows around the body. Maybe you're a body island person, and so you can get you could either get all the fun out of the way first, or you could do fun, sleeve, back to the body, back to a sleeve. That's another option if you want to. The thing is, you get to choose. You have to be the boss, and you don't have to do it in the order that things are written in the pattern. You can decide in which order to knit things. You can't do the front band until you've done the body. But you could do the neckband. Quite often you might be able to do the neckband before you do the front band. Sometimes the neckband is last, but yeah, you get to be the boss of that. Here's Amanda. Poof! Who has to finish the previous garment before starting another? I know. I like to, well, you know me. I've been in a knitting hole and I'm still not quite, I'm almost out of the hole. I fell in a knitting hole. It just was so deep. I got so deep in the hole and I found it really hard to get out of that hole. The thing I was working on was just taking me so long. It's all my fault. Well, it's also life. Life gets in the way of your knitting, but sometimes you just get into a garment. Well, I was a garment in my case, and you can't get out of it, and you're stuck in it, and then you keep changing your mind about things, and things don't seem to be working, or things are working, but for some reason everything's slow. And I was in one of those holes. So I quite like having at least this idea that I'm doing sleeves and then body and maybe back to a sleeve, or I'm doing both the sleeves. And I like to have a bit of a plan in my head. Makes it go faster. All right. Yes, Maureen. Sleeve needles. Make a list. Yes, it's a good idea. Sleeve needles are a great thing to buy. So what are some of the things I would stock up on? Post-it notes. I like having Post-it notes in my knitting pouch, and a good pen. I like those in there. Glasses. Some reading glasses if you need those. It's always nice to have an extra pair of glasses lying around in case you need those. Those are just from basics. And then, of course, stitch markers. And I put my stitch markers on a little ball, those ring clip things. And so they're all together. And I have one for my removable stitch markers and one for my, normal stitch markers. So you could find those as well. You'll probably find those in the stationery shop rather than at Wool Fair. But they're good things to have. Tape measures and scissors and crochet hooks and a couple of sizes of crochet hooks to pick up things, and wool needles and a little thing to put your wool needles in. And there's so many things. Louise says she's sewing in the ends on double time carding all buttoned. Fantastic. That sounds good. So you're so close to the end, Louise. Buttons on. The buttons are on and she's sewing in the ends. Boom. Good. You'll be able to wear it. Fantastic. Sleeves first, says somebody. It feels good when they're completed, and then back to the body. Yeah, it is nice. It is. You feel like you're just knocking things off, don't you, when you do it that way? I do enjoy that way. I had a little list of things to say, but I think, that's the other thing I was going to talk to you about. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat today. I have another drink. It must be that time of year. Perhaps it was my porridge. Right. Jogless stripes. That's the other thing on my list here. I've got a little list. Jogless stripes is something that people were asking about. I have got in the pattern, I've got instructions to do jogless stripes. So jogless stripes are the stripes down the sleeve when you're changing yarns between the colors so that they look more or less even. That's a good one, that one. Let's have a look at this one. what you end up with is, you end up with something that looks a little bit like a faux seam down the middle of the jogless stripe. Oh, here we are, down where you're joining it. Now it's falling on the floor, so I'll try not to make it. See how it looks like it's more or less a seam? And you're glancing at it, you wouldn't notice that there's anything amiss there, that you don't have a jog. And our jog is when the stripes don't meet, and so you come in with one and the other one like that. You don't want them to be like that. You want them to look as if they meet the stripe. So I have got written instructions in the pattern for the jogless stripes. They're not tricky. It's just might be a little fiddle and just something to remember when you're going through, but follow the instructions carefully and it will work. And what you'll need to do is you just slip. Trying to remember now. I should have looked it up before I started because I always have to relook it up. But you slip the first stitch as you knit the. Tell me what I do. I should have looked at it before I came. You slip a stitch. You slip the first stitch as you're working, and it carries. See, that's a slip stitch here, and it carries it up. So you knit the first one, and on the second row round you slip it. So it slips up again, and then you knit the first one on the second row round, you slip it. I think that's right. Someone will tell me if I got that wrong. Essentially, you need to slip stitches through there. When you follow the instructions, they're just step by step by step. It's really not very many instructions. And you end up with these lovely stripes that look like that. So they just have that slightly longer stitch in it. See how there's just a slightly longer stitch through where you've got the would have been the jog. And they look good. I understand there are a few people that are a little bit unsure about how to get rid of the jog, but have a look at the pattern and just follow the instructions. It just as they're written, and it will all work out. All right, this is what I must have said. Knit the first row. That's right. So I did get it right. You knit the first row on when you're joining a new color. Okay, so we've come to our new color that we're joining. You knit the first row because these are two rows for each color. So the first row, you knit it, and on the second row, you pick up the stitch below and knit it with the next stitch. So you kind of slip it. That's what I'm talking about, isn't it? So you pick up the stitch below, so you move that one, you pick it up, oh, that's right, and you knit it together with the next stitch. And so it lifts that first stitch up, so you lose the jog as you're going. You just have to have a bash, I think. Have a little bash, but it's not hard. Clearly, it's not too hard because, look, I managed it all the way down my sleeve like that. So you knit the first one, and on the next way round, lift up that first one and knit it together with the second one, and it just pulls that stitch nice and long. Yeah, okay, that'll be right. I wasn't very prepared for that, for this issue that I had to talk to you about. That's not so good, is it? Okay, everybody. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying your double time cardies. It'll be really fun to see you all wearing them when they're made. And we're still going along. The knit along's still going along. So enjoy the process. Enjoy everybody else. Feel inspired by what they're making. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they turn out like and how often you're enjoying wearing them. And I'm imagining there's going to be a few of you like me that are going to end up with several double time cardigans, just like you did with the timely cardigan, because it's one of those cardigans that you just think, oh, why just make another one? I just might make another quick little cardigan to add to my wardrobe because they're so easy to wear and they grow so fast because they're DK. All right, everybody, I will catch you next week. Same time, same place next week. Come and join me for some more knitting chatter. I'm looking forward to hearing. If you've been at any yarn festivals this weekend, I'm looking forward to hearing what you purchased. So get ready to come and tell me that. And happy knitting, and I will see you later. Bye, everybody.